already heard the two most important things. One, where the men's and ladies' room are, and two, where God is. You pray. So the rest is postscript. I'm always impressed by how polite people are at lectures. Maybe it's because I have ADD. Most academics do. Most of us don't know it, but we have it. Absent-minded professor syndrome. So we get bored very easily. And I'm always bored with monologues. But I'm never bored with dialogues. And I think people are really bored but polite when they listen to talks, and they're here only to get to the question and answer session after, because that's always much more interesting. So, especially since you're Catholic, you believe that most people have to go through purgatory before you get to heaven, so it's a fact. So, I'll try to give you a short purgatory. I'll try to keep this short. We've got the room for, well, we're not going to kick it out, so we can do question and answer as long as we want. But, I'll give myself the hook somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes from now, so that there will be plenty of time for questions. I like it when people give me the question that I'm supposed to answer, the assignment, the topic, because I'm lazy. I don't do that to my students. My students say, tell us what to write an essay about. And I say, I won't do that, because that's cheating, that's stealing, that's depriving you of half the effort. What do you mean? Well, getting the question out, that's half the effort. Getting the answer out, that's the other half. They don't believe me. I say, really to ask a question, really to pursue a question, that takes immense effort. That's much harder than you think it is. And getting the answer is a lot easier than you think it is, because there's plenty of answers out there. So I don't give them topics. I'll approve or disapprove topics they give me, but I'm lazy. Here, I take a topic, and I'm supposed to talk about how to win the culture war. Well, I happen to have read a book about it. Yeah. In fact, I write books that I want to read, but nobody else writes them, so I have to write them before I read them. But I never know how to teach my own books, because what I say, is it worth saying or not? If it was worth saying, I should have said it in the book. And if it's not worth saying, I shouldn't say it now. So what do? I'm stuck. Fortunately, my own disability helps me. We all have disabilities. We can learn from people with disabilities who we are. I forget what I wrote, so I can treat the book as if somebody else wrote it. Oh, gee, look at that. That's interesting. Let's talk about that. Who said that? You think I'm kidding? Well, there are 9 main points in this little book, and I'll just go over the 9 main points, and I'll say some of the things in the book, and I'll say some other things, and then having summarized the book, you who haven't read the book, which is certainly 99% of you, will be able to ask questions about it. The first and most important point of all is that we are at war. Most people don't know that. Most people are on the moon somewhere. Welcome back. What difference does it make if you believe you're at war or if you believe you're at peace? Well, I ask you, when you first saw those images of 9/11 on your TV screen, what change happened in your mind, in your consciousness? It was shocking. But you've seen other things that were shocking. Not as shocking as that. You went from one mode of consciousness to another mode of consciousness, and that changed everything. And that was a remarkable change. The adrenaline kicked in. You couldn't take your eyes off of that. Why? Just because so many people died? Now you've seen those images before. Just because a big building fell down? Now you've seen those images before. What was so shocking about it? You thought you weren't at war. You thought nobody could attack America. We won the Cold War, we won World War II, we're out of Vietnam. Yeah, we got a war way over there somewhere, outside the world, maybe helping somebody take out some tin-pot dictator, but that's not our war. And now suddenly, whoops. What we realized was that we had been at war for a long time. This plot had been brewing for a long time. There are people who want to kill us for a long time. Ooh. we suddenly woke up. We were like little children running across a beautiful field with butterfly nets, catching butterflies. And then we suddenly realized that those stones were landmines and those butterflies were bullets, live bullets. Well, that changes your consciousness a lot. It's almost like the sudden realization that you're on the verge of death. Samuel Johnson, the great English essayist, famously wrote, "I know of no thought that more wonderfully clarifies a man's mind than the thought that he will be hanged tomorrow morning." That would clear the cobwebs out. We shouldn't have been that surprised. The theme of war, enemies, struggle, jihad means struggle, to be interpreted spiritually or physically, inner or outer war. That theme is on just about every page of the Bible. Don't you read that old book? How could you miss it? Whenever in my philosophy classes the topic comes up and I point out the fact to my students, they're always stunned. I can tell when students are stunned. They're always making noise. And when they're interested, they make very little noise. And when they're stunned, they stop breathing. That doesn't happen much. It happens very seldom. I mention this point, and they say, yeah, that's right. How could we have missed that? Why didn't anybody tell us that? How many times have you read the Psalms? Hopefully, many times. What's the theme that is probably more pervasive than any other single theme in the Psalms? It's in about 75% of them. What are they about? Warfare. Literal physical warfare? Well, maybe not. Maybe that's not the way to interpret it, but some kind of warfare. Life is not mainly peace, interrupted by a little bit of war. Life is mainly war, interrupted by a little bit of peace. That's also true of human history. All right, that's point number one. If you don't get point number one, forget the rest. It's meaningless. But if you got point number one, then I've got your attention. I'm like a bomb, just dropped into your midst. Ah, that's interesting, at least. Second question, who are you at war with? Now, many people know that we're at war, but they mislabel the enemy. They think the enemy is Muslim terrorists. They think the enemy is communists. They think the enemy is atheists. They think the enemy is secularists. They think the enemy is pro-choice establishment media people. No. Those are deluded brothers and sisters. According to the Bible, it tells us exactly who we're at war with. St. Paul says, we are not at war with flesh and blood. We're at war with principalities and powers of wickedness in high places. What does that mean? Devils, demons, evil spirits. Ever heard of them outside of horror movies? Did you learn about those in catechism? Have you heard many sermons about them lately? No. Well, I think, first of all, Satan is very pleased with obsession about him. And some of our ancestors tended to be obsessed with him. They saw a devil under every bush. He likes that. But he is equally pleased with ignoring or denying his very existence. What a terrific advantage the enemy would have in any kind of war if you denied his existence. Wow, he can just wipe you out.